Yungblud has just released a brand new cover of his own song, Zombie, featuring Smashing Pumpkins. More importantly, I think, featuring Billy Corgan. This is something I was not expecting necessarily. I mean, Yungblud has been in the kind of like headlines quite a lot as of the last year or so. He released the album Idols, which had this song on it, Zombie. And I'm not gonna lie, he kind of flew under the radar for me in the initial release. I was kind of like vaguely aware of who he was. I'd definitely heard the name before. He seemed kind of maybe a little bit poppy to me and sort of had a slightly younger sort of focus. I started paying more attention when he was featured as part of the Aussie farewell gig and then also at the VMA tribute to him later on. It felt like it was kind of interesting that a lot of these very prolific legacy, rock artists, like the creme de la creme of the rock scene that are still alive and kicking, seem to accept him, to sort of bring him in and let him become almost like this kind of new guard part of this kind of like moving forward with the culture of rock and roll in general. And then obviously he's had this kind of like slightly weird, mostly one-sided beef with Justin Hawkins, where Justin Hawkins has been criticizing, well, not only his presence at these events, but also his kind of like use of potentially auto-tune. I don't know, he's got a much more, informed opinion about this kind of stuff than I do. I can't pick it out, but that doesn't mean it's not true. But either way, I can see where he's coming from. So Billy Corgan did a episode of his podcast, The Magnificent Others with Billy Corgan, which is a very interesting product in itself, because honestly, to start with, just hearing Billy Corgan almost interview himself at times is quite interesting, because Billy Corgan is a super interesting guy. Smashing Pumpkins are very prolific and a great band. It's kind of an interesting setup when the guy who is doing the interviewing is somebody I'm already just very interested to hear, and obviously because of who he is, he's been able to get some really big names. I listened through the entirety of the Danny Elfman interview, which is actually really interesting. That's such a weird guy. I think he must have met Yungblud in person for the first time at the Aussie gig. So they did an episode 1st of October that was where Yungblud called in and they did like a kind of hour-long talk. And I'm not gonna lie, a large portion of that interview did in fact manifest itself as Billy Corgan kind of just glazing Yungblud like repeatedly and entirely, and it's it's cool. I can appreciate his sort of like sentimentality, and I do see the point he's trying to make that Yungblud is probably one of the most prolific, mainstream, young demographic skewing rock artists in the world, right? And he's kind of like falling into this like sort of maybe trying to bring it back to the mainstream. And as a legacy rock artist, I totally understand the need to sort of see in a new generation, right, to bring it forward. And there's a lot of other bands that are sort of in this young guard of people kind of coming up. You got your Fontaines DCs, you got your Amels and the Sniffers. There is a scene, but Yungblud is I would imagine magnitudes bigger than most of them, because he's sort of a pop artist who's kind of sort of transitioning into this other side. I don't know, it was kind of interesting. Billy Corgan literally made a comment that Yungblud was like Elton John, and that he was able to start as a pop artist and move into rock. If you ask me, I still don't really find most of the music I've heard of Yungblud's to be very rocky, to be honest. I've heard the original song Zombie a fair few times at this point because my girlfriend's quite into it, and it's like an objectively fine song. It is fine. It's got a fairly catchy chorus. His vocal performance is quite charismatic, to be honest, but I always tease her because to me the intro, it just sounds like it's going to turn into a Coldplay song, which to me at least is definitely not that rock and roll. It's kind of like, sounds like it's about to turn into the intro for Yellow or something, which is fine. I do find that like him kind of like wanking around shirtless, pulling off the Jesus pose, doing the with his lips and all that, like a little bit irritating, but I get it. You gotta play to the crowds, man. If a lot of fans think you're real sexy and that's helping to sell records, then who am I to say don't do it? But either way, there's a lot of interesting context flying around there, because apparently Billy Corgan has been banging the Yungblud drum for a while, telling everybody, look, he can actually sing, he's got this potential in him, and I think now he's maybe trying to sort of like take him under his wing a little bit, kind of foster him and kind of create this actual rock artist out of him, which would be a very interesting kind of full transition. When I first saw it, my initial take for some reason was it was likely to be Zombie by the Cranberries, which I know is a very silly thing to think. Of course it's Yungblud Zombie, and also apparently this is one of the first times that Smashing Pumpkins / Billy Corgan have guested on someone else's project for like quite a long time. Now, it's not the only time, but it has been a minute now, so it really is quite, a boon Billy is bestowing upon him. He's really, putting this guy front and center and saying, look at him. So, hey, Billy has definitely earned the ability to say that stuff and for me to pay attention, even if he is still strange. And the funniest thing I've ever seen ever of all time will still be the Family Guy meme where he's described as sad baby man Billy Corgan at Big Thunder Mountain.
Whoops, I stopped thinking about math and started thinking about baby man Billy Corgan being sad at Disneyland.
But anyway, that's quite a lot of witter. I'm curious to hear about this. I think it's probably going to manifest itself as functionally the same song with some more harmonies and maybe some slightly heavier guitars. So let's jump in and listen to Yungblud and Smashing Pumpkins covering Zombie. I'm guessing it's going to have a super high budget music video as well. Okay. I love the little clap. It's, oh man, it's just something about Billy Corgan. He's so, like, just totally deadpan. And he is the kind of person I do genuinely kind of feel like actually thinks his shit smells great. But it mostly does. But his, like, kind of quite deadpan delivery mixed with Yungblud, kind of like, yeah, look at me, I'm a rock star. Oh, God, I'm going to come off so bad. Shit, that's not my intention. But yeah, their energies mismatch is kind of interesting. But interesting set. I like the snow and stuff. And already there's some, like, obvious guitar riffage difference between this and the original, which I like. I'm hoping it's not going to be, like, a total clone of the original song. Power stance, Billy, power stance. Okay. Okay. Oh, straight out the gate, I like the guitar work in this a lot more. It's more, well, it's just more rock and roll. It's not just kind of like blasting kind of like vaguely empty chords as he focuses more on his vocals. I quite like the sort of like the noodling, the more kind of lead guitar vibe to it. It's quite nice. And seeing everyone else kind of drop out and Billy's kind of like, go sir, go, do your singing. It's comparatively wholesome and I do like the set as well. It's amazing what a couple of extra guitars can do to the sound of a song. It's instantly way less poppy to me. But also, I'm not gonna lie, the way that he's overplaying it there in the video, I know it's a video, but he's playing it in a way that it definitely isn't the audio I'm hearing. I know that it's not, but my point being the suspension of disbelief. I'm like, you're not hitting those strings that hard. It's a way slower, softer pick for this bit. Whatever. That's just me getting nitpicky, I guess. It just feels a bit false. I'm sorry. I do find Yungblud's persona to be like just a bit not disingenuous, but he really is trying to embody this kind of like rock star Jim Morrison-esque character, but I feel like to a greater or lesser extent, the genuineness or something like that, it's quite difficult to replicate when you are not like, I don't know, troubled, you know what I mean? Like, the generation of your Kurt Cobains and your John Lennons and sort of these other, you know, your Jim Morrisons, all of these kind of people who are these tortured genius souls, and he's sort of trying to act like one, except that I know that he's not. This is me. I was hesitant when I started making this video that I was going to come across too harsh on Yungblud, but hey, I got to speak my mind. I'm not intentionally coming after him. I find it a little bit cringy. Man, mix Billy Corgan up a little bit. Please, God, at least give him a verse. You can barely hear him. If I didn't see that there were two people singing, I probably wouldn't have noticed there was a harmony. There we go. Okay, fine. Yes. What a great shot to start with. I love Billy's little kind of dance in the background. The creative decision to have him like superimposed on his own shot was fantastic. And I know he's only been singing for about 5 seconds. God, it's crazy how much more I prefer his voice. And Billy Corgan isn't even like your most traditionally like technically proficient singer, but I like that about him. It's so unique and kind of a little bit nasal, but always impassioned. Like you can't ever fault the like genuineness of Billy Corgan, which is what makes this collaboration so weird to me. It's so strange how Billy seems to have like really sort of decided he thinks that Yungbluds legit. It's so weird coming from one extreme to the other, from my perspective at least. Just the phrasing is different and interesting. See, that's great. All that shit going on there was a slight rhythmic shake-up that's not in the original there. He had a very high kind of like scraping guitar line come down there. He's shaking up the phrasing slightly, which is also really interesting. It fills up this kind of like interesting little moment in soundscape. I don't know why they're not doing that over all of it, because it does feel like the bits that are Yungbluddy are basically the same as the original, but this verse is great. Yeah, that harmony is tasty as well. See, again, I actually really like the way that they had Yungblud's vocals come in there for this kind of like slightly shoutier overdub, with Billy kind of leading it with this like slightly more chaotic backing thing from Yungblud. That's great. I don't know why. Well, I guess maybe they're building up to it, you know, and I'm just being impatient by wanting it to be more varied earlier on, but that's what I was hoping from this song. This more strange overdubs really take advantage of the fact that you've got these two personalities there. Yeah, I think the backing vocals on Billy's line for this chorus are mixed up a little bit from the first chorus, because they're way more present, and it's actually kind of so iconic, the specific intervals that they chose to use for here just scream Smashing Pumpkins. It's so signature to their sound. It's really good. This part of it I really like, and it's the kind of part that sort of shows that the fundamentals of the writing of the song are actually also, you know, they're pretty solid. It's a pretty well-written song. It's a little bit repetitive, but I don't give the Hive shit for doing verse, chorus, done, so, you know, it's not really fair of me to hold him to a different standard. Yeah. See, this stripped back second repeat of the chorus is also great. You got the drums basically stripped back to just a kick following the beat there. Everything's kind of dropped out a little bit. The guitars are doing more of a staccato motion. The harmonies are getting a bit wilder now. This progression is really, really nice. And it is the kind of stuff, the musical richness that I think the original lacks. Ah, okay, yeah. See, this bit's awesome. There's so much going on now. They've like really upped the amount of guitars again. They've managed to basically do the same chorus 3 times in a row. First time more or less the same with slightly dialed up backing vocals. Then this sort of slightly more offbeat, slightly more staccato one with a nice wailing lead guitar line kind of running through it. And now you've got this really thick, everything's filled out the sound wise again. Those harmonies have got some more effect on them, I think. There's like, it's almost like there's a bit of flanger or something in there in the background. It's kind of got this slightly pulsating kind of like Billy Corgan-ness up there in the extreme pans on both sides, and it's really cathartic. It brings the whole thing home. It's great. Wow, Billy Corgan's like body language in this is kind of very deferring, if that makes sense. Like, he's making literal hand gestures to try and push your eyes towards Yungblud. This is like so incredibly obviously like Billy Corgan really trying to give the rub to Yungblud, which again, on its head, I actually really respect. I think it's nice and something that should... I think a lot of legacy artists actually kind of gatekeep a little bit when it comes to the younger generation. So I do really appreciate that even in the body language, it's so obvious what Billy is trying to do with this. It's still a bit weird to me that this is the wars he happens to have hitched his wagon to, but okay. Yeah, nice little end to that too. Nice harmonies. Everyone stand there. Power stance. Well, okay. That was a really, really interesting thing to watch. The mixtures of their styles to start with didn't really feel like they were, well, mixing, to be honest. It felt like one was more obviously kind of powerful, and I guess obviously it being a Yungblud song with him taking the majority of the lead vocals, which is, you know, kind of fair enough. To me, at least, the beginning didn't have enough difference from the original to really even warrant its existence. But then as soon as you got past that first chorus and you let Billy kind of like do his, well, his Billyisms, I guess, you know, he just like takes what makes Smashing Pumpkins and his songwriting techniques interesting and kind of apply them to the second half of that song, it actually really, really soared. I liked the variation of the guitar lines and the way that they were able to kind of like phase in and out these kind of like slightly off-the-wall vocals. Honestly, just Billy Corgan's presence in a video, just full stop, always... I mean, it's probably not the desired effect all the time, but it definitely gets a smile out of my face. He's just, again, like I've said before, so earnest and sincere in everything he does, almost to a fault, but I really do appreciate it. It does make for a kind of like a little bit of it's a bit funny watching him do his kind of little moves. You know he's got to be at least a bit self-aware of that, you know, with the long coat and the sad baby man kind of egghead version of Billy Corgan we have nowadays. It's entertaining. I do like that. The sort of like layering in there towards the end was really good. The way that they were able to vary up the last couple of choruses and really add some interesting layerage to that, which I think the original was really lacking. It definitely does point out the strength of the songwriting of the original song. The melody is good. The chord sequence, whilst not particularly innovative, I wouldn't have necessarily said, but it's good for a reason, right? It's the kind of stuff that just works. Yungblud's voice is... it's fairly charismatic. I find his performances in the video to be like a little bit disingenuous. It feels like he's really, really trying to emulate his, you know, his idols, which he definitely is, and you can't fault him for that, but it just comes across a little corny to me. But, you know, again, if I was him, and I have heard, you know, him talking about it on the podcast interview with Billy Corgan, how kind of crazy it was that he's sort of suddenly been brought into this world with family. Now he's doing collaborations with Aerosmith and Smashing Pumpkins and all these people. As a young fan of that kind of stuff, I can imagine it is totally mind-blowing to be kind of pulled into this scene with such good faith. So, you know, nothing but respect for him for that. I would do absolutely the same thing in his case. I think it's just a case of him needing to mature a little bit, and that is totally fine. It happens with time. Rubbing shoulders with these kind of people is only going to help with that. I like that Billy Corgan has decided to kind of take him under his wing. I think it's an admirable thing to go through. The song is not that different from the original, but it's different enough. I think it's worthy of its existence. I like it more than the original one, I think, but I was always going to because I'm a bit of a Smashing Pumpkins fan. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sad that this thing exists. Good for everyone involved, to be honest. I'll be curious to see if Justin Hawkins releases some sort of reaction to this too, because I can't imagine it's going to be too favourable. We'll see. Who knows? I'm sorry if it came across like I'm really harsh on Yungblud. I'm not intending to. I don't wish him any ill. I think it's a good thing to kind of like push rock music to this generation and to the scene. So, you know, good for them. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you like this one more or less the original? Do you think that Billy Corgan's additions were kind of like different enough to warrant its existence? I'd be curious to know what the general public think about this one, so let me know in the comments down below there. Like, share, subscribe, and all that crazy stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.